Hey guys, we are here to do a wrap up of swag hunting for San Diego Comic-Con 2014. And so this is each year it's been kind of one of the more requested things is to talk a little bit about what happened there. I think we've definitely seen a real trend at Comic-Con over the last few years, which I'll kind of get into, and I've kind of broken things down here a little bit as we go through the swag that we picked up. A couple things to note just off the bat. One, we are not going to really get into things that were like swag giveaways for special media things. So I'm not going to get into things that maybe were extra things. I want to really keep it to focused on everything we do, which is being a regular attendee at things. What can anybody get? So I'll note anything that might have some sort of media perk to it. Two, in most cases, if there's a ton of extras of them, I've kind of taken them out of the pile. Actually, behind the set of where we're filming here, behind the camera, there's a ton of a bed just full of stuff, and so we're not going to put, oh, we have 7 of these bags or whatever. So we'll kind of keep to that. And then 3, in looking at the stuff, we're going to cut out really a lot of the kind of junkier stuff. And so just kind of an example of the type of stuff we're cutting out of much talk in this video is, you know, the random buttons and bracelets and tiny figures and free comic books and stuff. We've got mountains of that stuff, and you know, we like to get a little bit of that and give it to the kids and in our lives and things like that, but we're not going to really focus on that too much. We're mostly going to focus on kind of some of the bigger targets that people are, you know, most excited about at Comic-Con. And so the first category we're going to hit is just the regular old grinded out kind of what do you find on the floor as you run around. Especially, you know, a lot of people in those first 15 minutes when the floor opens at 9 a.m. they're trying to run around and grab these things. And the comment over the last 3 years is consistently, there's no good swag. You know, where did all the bags go, or where did all the shirts go? And I think what's happening is we're seeing the type of swag change a lot, but I would argue that in a lot of ways the swag is better today than it's ever been at Comic-Con, but it's very different, and we're going to kind of go into that. But let's first start just with that kind of traditional stuff. So running around the floor type stuff, a lot of what we're finding and kind of what we tinkered with this year. I mean, these were really cool. These are all from Marvel. The Groot masks tied into Disney Infinity are fun. The Iron Man mask is fine, not as fun. The little prints that they were giving out, and then they obviously had a ton of comic books. They had the Avengers posters or prints that you may have seen there. Now, one thing I want to say about Marvel, so we have really kind of segued away from doing much with Marvel, or I should say it's representative of the type of booth we stay away from, including you know, Marvel, WB, even DC to a lesser extent, is the booths that are demanding so much time to get what I feel is kind of little reward in the grand scheme of things. So those used to be like mainstays. We used to, you know, just be at Marvel, DC, and WB. Back in 2009, 2010, those were like our main spots. It's changed. It's become so crazy. It's kind of the mainstream where everybody goes place, and it just takes up too much time. So we can still get in there and get our stuff, and we occasionally do. But we've really tried to move away from that and look at some other areas. And so we don't spend as much time there. And if we do need something in terms of the swag, we might follow up with eBay after picking up some of these other things. Mattel, about the only thing too much worthwhile anymore, the Monster High bags. Those are really popular, you know, with the various little girls we know and stuff. They love those. Those are easy to pick up. The Star Wars Rebel bag over in the Star Wars area there. The DC, these were Lego kind of comic magazines that they had. They had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Star Wars, that. Penny Dreadful over at Entertainment Earth, handing out the DVDs there. We definitely needed to get the Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Legends poster. All of these are kind of that traditional swag that I think most people think about. And what I wanted to say about all of these is what we kind of toyed around with throughout the weekend was attacking the floor in different ways. And so all of these were things that could easily be picked up for the most part middle of the day. A couple of days we kind of took, because we felt like we were doing really well with our exclusives and swag, and so really on Saturday and Sunday we kind of purposely let ourselves enter really at the very end after everybody else is on the floor. And all we did is just pay attention and just kind of keep weaving in and out. Now, we do spend a lot of time on the floor, so that's something to be considered. So we're going to pass by Mattel 5 or 6 times, and it's going to be easy to pick those up. Lego, Star Wars, whatever it is. So we're passing by. We're very good at paying attention. As we're looking at everything, this is kind of representative of 2 of us. So Carmel and I are both focused on this. It's not like it's just one of us or anything. We're both finding things. She has a keener eye for some things. She has a keener eye really for most things. I'm a lot faster getting around the floor and looking around, and so kind of we balance each other out. But those are all easily obtained middle of the day. Didn't find a huge advantage in the mornings, except for if we come over here. What we see changed a lot in the last few years, if we're going to compare to, let's say, 2009, to kind of look at the last 5 years in swag, is a change with a much greater focus on experiences and signings, and really signings obviously being experiences too. It's kind of funny because this really ties in with a lot of the stuff we do with theme parks, which theme parks are more and more getting on board with the idea of it's all about immersive experiences, is providing something that people feel like they've been a part of, that kind of, that whole interaction with the, a Disney character or whatever, but expanding that and going to other parks, whether it's a Universal or Knott's or things like that. And so in that way, signings become a big thing. So in our case, we were able to pick up a ticket at the Hasbro booth, got the Star Wars Rebel signing. So not only did we get the cool, Rebels poster with the signing by 2 of the voice actresses, but they were also having revealed to them their characters in the action figure form for the first time. So that was really a cool thing as a Star Wars fan, this new show coming out, these 2 actresses that'll probably be part of the Star Wars universe for a while, and these 2 characters, to be able to be there and see them, be right there. I was actually the first person to ask them to pose with their action figures and take the picture, and that's something I'll remember beyond the poster. And all it took was being at the Hasbro booth at 9:30 in the morning, basically, and getting a ticket and coming back. Same thing. We have a few little girls in our life that love My Little Pony, and so we picked these up. Same thing, we got the ticket from the Hasbro booth, showed back up, got the voice actresses, director, writer, all of them to sign the posters, exclusive poster. The kids are going to love it. If we didn't want to go that route, if you look up on eBay, you can find a lot of these things going for $50 or so on their own. I think one sold for like 80 or 90. So even on that side, it's not just that the kids like it, it's that everybody likes it. Jay Lee, we picked up. We didn't actually go through with getting him to sign our Magic cards, just because we've seen Jay Lee at other shows like Amazing Las Vegas, and it was a long line, and we felt like it was too valuable of Comic-Con time to deal with that. But a lot of people were super excited about that they were able to see Jay Lee there. In addition to that, we got an Avatar Last Airbender signing at Dark Horse, which we traded away, and we'll kind of get to that later on, and also when we talk about exclusives, but we traded that away. But it was a cool wristband opportunity, and that was just a situation. You wait in line, you draw a pebble. If it's a certain color, you win. A certain color, you lose. And so we ended up winning for Avatar, and also for Fight Club 2 at Dark Horse, also with Chuck Palahniuk, and so he's a favorite author of mine, and those were 2 signing experiences. And so in the end, we had 5 signing experiences that were all from just kind of being in the right place at the right time. And all we do with that, and one thing throughout, is we do very, very little prep going into the show on swag. I mean, I don't study anything, I don't print lists. People always before Comic-Con are like, where's the swag going to be at? What panels have swag? I'm not concerned with any of that. What I'm concerned with is being on the floor and kind of taking what is given and what's going on there. And so I bounce around a lot, see what's going on. And, so Hasbro, I know every morning they're going to have signings. So I check in every morning, or I'll check in, take a quick picture of their signing schedule and see what's going to be there. Same thing with Mattel, although we didn't go to any of their signings this year. But it was just a matter of making that kind of a consistent part of the schedule to pop in there after I had gone to my other spots. Now, another big thing that's changing in terms of the swag culture is they're wanting to get a hold of your badge and do certain experiences where they can get your email address or be able to get in some kind of contact with you afterwards. And so, for example, at the Big Hero 6, Disney's Big Hero 6 booth, they basically had a little situation. You let them scan your badge, and then you get the figure Baymax out of his armor. And so Carmel and I both, swiped our badges there. They gave us the exclusive dolls. We got our picture with Baymax, and that was a wrap. Go over to Sideshow. Same thing. We did a couple of those. We got $25 gift cards to Sideshow. We got, cool little keychain. We got another pin. I don't know where we have that right now, but a pin as well. Similar vein, went over to Falling Skies booth. They give you this cool little patches. And we took our picture inside a cocoon, an alien cocoon, which if you're familiar with the show, that's a big, just a big thing going on right now in the show. But anyway, so it was a cool experience. So we got the picture, they emailed it to us, we got the experience of going through all that. All of those were things, though, where there aren't necessarily always as big of lines. Sometimes there are things like, for example, Sideshow and Big Hero 6, they were things that we actually asked at the time. There was no line at all, and we're like, do you guys have anything going on with the badges? And it just kind of opened up from there, or we would see somebody else doing it. Big thing, the Lego giveaways. You know, the Lego giveaways take a good chunk of time. And so in the cases there, it took about an hour and a half to wait. You get to the front of the line and you find out whether you won or not, but we each won the collector on Friday. And so that was awesome. And then one of us, I won Bard the Bowman on Thursday. But yeah, it's an hour and a half of time. Each of those figures sell for around $200 to $300. Well worth the time. We are collectors ourselves, so we're not really planning to do much in terms of selling them or anything, but it's nice to know that it's a very valuable item that we're able to pick up, and it was just a matter of putting the time in and waiting. And again, scanning your badge and now the giveaway. Another thing that's kind of a little bit of outside the box thinking, we had the good fortune of doing the X-Men Cerebro experience, which is a hands-on, again, very theme park, and there's a lot of things like this where it's a theme park experience where we got to be in Professor X's shoes and visit with Cerebro and kind of hunt mutants at San Diego Comic-Con. They gave us this cool poster at the end. The only way we got that, though, we didn't spend the time to go get in line and fight for that experience, although that would have been a good use of that morning kind of runaround time. But one of our followers on Twitter was really cool and offered that as an opportunity. And so he said, hey, I'm not going to be able to use this. I've got something else going on. So again, prior to Comic-Con, we really preached the idea of using social media. That's a perfect example of why, is getting those tips. I try to tweet out as much help as I could during the show about, hey, this signing's going on, or hey, this is being given away, run over there. And so it really becomes a huge part of the tool. So the theme as we're going through this is it becomes more and more important is it's really about working smarter and not harder, and really being alert while you're on the floor, circling back, asking booth attendants of what's going on, when are things going on. And those are some of the things that went on in the old days too, but I think the thing that also happened in the old days is there was just a ton of situations where there was a million bags and everybody just got in one giant line and got their bags or their poster tubes. Fox still has poster tubes, but that kind of idea, or their shirts were at 5 different booths. And so it was very easy because people would run on the floor, they'd see a line a mile long, they'd wait in it, they'd get a t-shirt, and they felt like there was a lot of swag. Now it's taking, when you're looking at the swag and kind of your experiences, these are the types of things that we're looking at more. Is there's a lot more value in terms of whether we're talking about monetary or just experiences in these types of things than in these types of things. And so it requires kind of a mindset shift of looking a little bit harder. The cool thing about it is pretty much all of these can be found middle of the day. So that whole idea of getting up at 5 in the morning or 3 in the morning or whatever and getting in line to do a quick run to get this stuff really starts to devalue that experience. And you can almost do better just being patient and through the middle of the day. All right, turning our attention over to panels. We really preach, don't go into a panel for swag, go into a panel because you want to go to a panel. It really doesn't make sense to dedicate time to panels just for swag unless it's something huge, The Infinity Sorcerer Mickey that they gave away at D23 that you could sell for $150 if that's what you want to do afterwards with it, that's something worthwhile. But in most cases, it's really not worth the time commitment. But we lucked into a few things. We went to the Doctor Who Comics panel, we got some cool poster packs. We went to the Fox panel in Hall H, got a Maze Runner comic book. Nothing amazing in any of those, but again, we didn't dedicate time. It was just kind of things we got. The really cool thing in terms of panels for us was going to the WBDC TV 4-hour event on Saturday night, and we walked in and they gave us the huge, or not huge, but just a cool bag. And so it comes with the DC Heroes shirt, which was awesome. Comes obviously with the bag, and then inside of it, whoops, do this, we'll go this one. Inside of it also you had popcorn, bottled water, Gotham lanyards, comic book, pin, the shirt, the bag. And it was just a really cool little prize pack. But again, it wouldn't be something that I would preach, hey, let's, next year if there's another WB TV panel, I wouldn't say go to it just for that purpose. I would say go to it because you want to go to that and then go from there. All right, now offsites, more and more you're finding that a lot of really great properties are going offsite, and it's a lot cheaper for them in many cases to be offsite, which means they can put the money into swag rather than putting it into booth rental. And so it's a good place to look. And if you're really looking for that old school type of the bags and the t-shirts, in a lot of ways offsite is a little bit better, just wandering that gas lamp area. A couple things we found. We were really hooked on Ascension all weekend, which was this year's sci-fi cafe that took over at the Hard Rock Mary Jane's, and that was awesome. So they had a cool photo booth experience where you could go and get these little souvenir cards, which are awesome. You know, it's just cool to have these backdrops. Maybe Ascension will be a big hit, maybe it'll be a flop. Either way, it's a cool little experience to have. It took a couple minutes. I mean, I think we were there like less than 2 minutes maybe to get into the booth one time as we were passing through and get to that little experience. The restaurant itself was cool. Now, by going by late Sunday as the gas lamp is kind of putting itself back together and taking Comic-Con down, Sci-Fi is known to give away some nice things at the end in terms of, like, for me, I'm really big on getting kind of props from movies, but more like things that have actually been used in theme parks and stuff like that. So they were giving away, they let us basically have a bunch of drink menus and some kids menus that are interactive. They gave us, literally the manager came around and gave everybody in there a stack of these pins. So I don't know what I'll ever do with all of these pins, but just really cool little pieces of kind of history of it, you know. And if Ascension becomes something, you know, the people that like Defiance from last year, they've got that. I wasn't a huge fan of Defiance. I like it okay, but not a huge fan. You know, Eureka and stuff like that. It's kind of a cool way to remember your property, to have that kind of stuff that was used and commemorated. It was just that one year, 2014. The Tin Fish was taken over by Blacklist, and you would go through and you got, you know, this cool Blacklist bags. Again, kind of the old school thing a lot of people used to look for. Also, they were given away at the end there. There were the menus. And then a really cool thing you could go through and put yourself on the blacklist, and they would take a little picture of you. And again, just a cool souvenir card there. And so when you're looking at, you know, good swag versus bad swag, is the old school, you know, Monster High bag or t-shirt from Fox or whatever really better than these souvenir cards? I'm not really sure that they're better. In a lot of ways, I think that these things actually become more useful and better ways to kind of commemorate the experience. Pixel Movie Arcade, they, again, immersive. They had the arcade experience. You could go in there, play all these old school arcade games to kind of fit thematically with the movie. And then they had the, you know, the easy to get swag on the street with the sunglasses, you know, the traditional thing. I love stuff like this. They had the Constantine experience. We never waited in line to go through the experience and get the bag, but we picked up several of his business card from the guy, and it was, again, a very interactive experience, much like talking to a Disney character at Disneyland or something. It was John Constantine roaming the streets, and he gave us his card. You can call the card, and, well, you can have a little fun there. Old school Gotham lanyards, they were handing those out everywhere. Thought those were pretty cool, so, you know, just grabbed those. Now, this one was a media experience, so this was something anybody could do, and I want to touch on it because it was such a cool offsite type of a way of a swag experience. But that being said, we were able to get media access to this, so that's why we didn't have to wait in line. If we had to wait an hour and a half in line or an hour in line or whatever, I'm not sure that it would have really been worth our time. But going through Schick Hydro, they were teamed up with Assassin's Creed, and they were doing shaving station. And so you went, you got your t-shirt, you got your bag, you got your Schick Hydro shave gel. But the cool thing was, as hot and crazy as Comic-Con was, you got to sit in a chair for 15-20 minutes and get a shave by a barber there. And he was all dressed up thematically with Assassin's Creed. And it was just kind of a really cool, again, experience. And that's what I think a lot of these things you want to look at is, where maybe there may not be quite as many t-shirts, bags, or whatever, lanyards, bracelets. I think there's a lot more experiences now, and you have to consider that in a lot of ways you're collecting experiences, and the swag is the experience, you know, and so thinking about it from that way. Leftovers was there, and we just really liked that HBO show, and they had a hands-on experience where you could kind of, again, interact with making your own kind of leftover dummy, and they had the little pamphlets, and again, these are just cool little pieces of memorabilia for if you like the show. Now, in closing out on the swag, one big thing we recommend every year at Comic-Con is pay attention to the ground, pay attention to things that you find on the floor. You always find buttons and Hasbro tickets and just random stuff all over the ground. And we'll get into finding a Hasbro ticket later on when we talk about exclusives. But one of the things we really focus on is the fulfillment room tickets and looking for those little tickets. And not every ticket. I had a few people tweet me about, well, I found a ticket and I went to the fulfillment room and it wasn't any good. Well, just because you find a ticket doesn't mean it's for the fulfillment room. You know, as you kind of want to research that before you go out, maybe. We'll tweet it out and say, hey, do you guys know what this is for, if we're not sure. But when you find those tickets, they can be really valuable. In our case this year, we found 6 fulfillment room tickets. 2 of them, though, after we left the fulfillment room, and we decided not to go back, even though there was a little bit of time to go back. And that was for True Blood and I forget the other one. But anyway, those were two. We just didn't want to walk back, the long mile. But we could have also picked up the True Blood panel stuff and another one. But the ones we did pick up, of the 4 fulfillment room tickets we picked up, one was for The Giver. So it was just a little comic book and some kind of cheapy sunglasses. Nothing too huge there, but found that one. We found Hannibal, and so we got the original soundtrack. With, if you're familiar with Hannibal, the music is a big part of the film, and the DVD Comic-Con exclusive cover case. We got Big Hero 6, so we got another plush character from the movie, which is really cool and pretty well sought after, so we were excited about getting that. And then kind of the grand prize that a lot of people really have been wanting is we got the Game of Thrones pack. So we got the t-shirt, we got the pen, we got the Dothraki, the book. We got the All Men Must Die journal, a bunch of little stuff there, and including the bag itself. And so all of those things, and we could have had 2 more if we were willing to take that walk back again on Sunday afternoon, all from just paying attention to the ground with fulfillment tickets. And I know a lot of you, if you follow along on Twitter, a lot of you tweeted me that, I found this ticket, or I found that ticket, or better luck next year. And that's what I would say, is just focus on it. This is definitely Carmel's expertise. In fact, this year she was the one that found all the tickets. She's very good at watching the ground and just paying attention to details and things like that. And she found this, but this is a nice bit of swag to pick up without ever spending any time in any of those panels or grinding out that time. So in general, again, we've got probably 3 times this amount of swag when we include all the cheesy stuff and tons of the comics and triples and quadruples of a lot of these things as we loped back through, and they had another Star Wars bag to give out, or another Penny Dreadful DVD or whatever. But we wanted to kind of just set it up thematically to give an idea of kind of what can be done. So in looking forward to 2015, I don't really think this trend is going to change. If you look at theme parks as kind of an indicator, and I think we're seeing that with, Comic-Con is a theme park, because that's what it comes down to. San Diego Comic-Con is really very much a themed entertainment adventure, and that's awesome. And so because of that, they know people are really much more likely to remember experiences than they are a t-shirt. And although a t-shirt can be a nice walking billboard, and not to say that t-shirts will ever go away as giveaways, what is even more standout is going back home and talking about the time that you were in a human cocoon and explaining that to your family and showing them a picture, or the time that you went to space because there's this new show, Ascension, and you show them a picture and you tweet it out and it catches fire. You're going to tweet those things out. You're going to Facebook those things, Instagram those experiences, the talking to John Constantine, a lot more than, taking a picture of your Monster High bag and sending that to all of your friends and saying, I can't believe I got this bag. And so I think that's really the trend that we're going to see. It's better bang for the buck for the companies. And in the end, it's giving them, it's giving them more of a spotlight. And that's constantly a thing with San Diego, is everybody's fighting to get a little slice of the spotlight. There's so much going on. Everybody wants their little piece. And that's really what it comes down to, is you have a much better chance of getting that if you've got, the Assassin's Creed obstacle course, and you've got video of yourself running across it, and you get a t-shirt at the end, but it was really about the experience, and that goes viral, and that's everywhere, and now everybody's thinking Chic Hydro because of it, and so something to think about 2015. I don't think it's going to change. So as we're looking at 2015, don't spend as much time studying up on what every booth has or what you think every panel have. Think a lot more about social media. Who are your connections? Who are the people you're going to talk to? Can you trade with people? Do you have, kind of centers of influence, like, somebody like me that has a few thousand followers that can tweet things out or retweet things for you to help connect with people? Think about working with others. Do you have a partner? If you're going to Comic-Con by yourself, do you have a friend that an online friend that you can meet there that's going to go, that maybe you have some common interests, and even if you don't go to all the same stuff, you can trade stuff or help each other out. Doubling your chance to get those Lego figures is a really nice thing to do. And so it becomes really a lot more about working smarter and not harder. And as cliche as that is, it is what it is. And so it really gets difficult for me in the days, I get a lot of questions, especially Saturday and Sunday this year. They're like, wait, where should I go? What's the swag plan? How are you getting so much stuff? What should I do? And it's a simple answer of paying really close attention and walking around a lot. That's really what it comes down to. Walking around a lot, paying close attention, and using resources is really what it is. So if you are looking for a plan next year, really think about those things. Is plan 1 to put in a lot of walking time, 2, to pay close attention and work on the details of looking around at the floor and what's going on around you. And you know, the group mask is being handed off over there. You don't want to walk right by it because there's not always going to be a huge line. In fact, hopefully there's not a huge line. And if you're only looking for the huge line, you're going to miss a lot of great opportunities. And then 3, really that networking is, you know, what can you do in this next year to build a group of people that you can work with, because you may need to work with them to get San Diego Comic-Con tickets just to help look out for each other. You may need to have a roommate for a hotel. So there's a lot of reasons you want to work with people, but one big one could just be the swag hunt and making sure that you leave Comic-Con with all of these things being free. And we're going to give a lot of gifts away to, you know, family members, friends, take care of people. We'll have the option, if we want to make $1,000 off of Lego figures, we can. We've got a lot of stuff here as opportunities just from walking a lot, paying attention, and using our resources. So until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.